The movie theater stocks have taken a massive hit during 2020. On a combined basis, the sell-off has wiped out nearly $2.7 billion in market value since January.
Regal Cinemas announced the closure of its 536 movie theaters across the United States.
It'll be a long, empty winter.
The consumer isn't comfortable going back and sitting in indoor movie theaters.
In this video, we'll look in detail at this big disruption in the movie industry. You see, it's not only the movie theater benefits that are crumbling, it might also be the concept of Hollywood itself. When we talk about the movie industry, we are essentially talking about one of the largest markets in the world.
The movie business is basically this big circus tent held up by a few major films every year. These are your Star Wars films, Marvel, Disney, Pixar, and they're what you call the tent pole in the center. They're holding the entire tent up for everybody so that the show can go on in Hollywood. They rake in millions, if not billions of dollars, depending on the movie. But the thing is that they also cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. And this makes room for studios to get smaller budget films made, but not too many. And this is all essentially a risk mitigation scheme by the major production companies. And all of the distribution mechanisms depend on this continuing.
It is still quite a large industry, however, it's going through major changes. In 2011, Netflix changed the game at distribution and film releases.
Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon simply removed the need to share profits with a middleman to the customer, and that is the movie theaters.
Movie theaters had the privilege of having a 70-day window screening of a movie before they could hit the on-demand services. They now realize that this window is gone, and there are two reasons for that. And the first one is economic. Movie producers realize that by cutting the middleman, they can reach much higher profits.
The most simple thing that COVID has done is close the means in which movies are distributed to the public, that being the theaters. And the release of Trolls 2 World Tour from Universal Paramount. I never thought I'd be saying that Trolls 2 was going to change the way the world works, but it very much did. Now, all of the major studios delayed their blockbuster films in 2020. James Bond, Mulan were just some of the more notable films that kept getting delayed again and again as COVID continued to not go away. Trolls 2 eventually decided to go straight to on-demand and stop delaying the process of landing in theaters. Within 3 weeks of their digital release, Trolls 2 made more money for Universal Pictures than the original Trolls made in 5 months in movie theaters. Theaters typically take 50% of the box office from any given movie, usually less for the bigger, top dog films. Now, in this arrangement where Universal cut out the movie theaters, they got 80% of their box office, and then only 20% went to whoever was streaming it online for the on-demand audience.
The economic incentive make the second reason much easier to understand, which is new possibilities. Until now, the movie industry used to rely on Hollywood, Academy Awards, and festivals. And now, there's a blue ocean of possibilities.
Martin Scorsese's mob epic, The Irishman, which was made for Netflix in 2019. Now, this movie was total Oscar bait. It had a really great dramatic performances. And when Scorsese makes a movie, it's a contender for Best Picture awards almost every year. But it wasn't released in theaters. So it was headed for an Oscar snub by default because that's the rules. So Netflix negotiated a deal with theaters so that the film could screen for a limited amount of time and meet the bare minimum amount of time you need to be on a big screen to qualify for award season. And this revealed to many people, in part, the phoniness of the way in which the movie's distribution scheme is structured.
Of course, that doesn't mean the end of the movie industry as we know it. Many industries changed their way they do business during COVID-19, and of course, the movie industry is no different.
People are working from home, and we're talking about a business that is centered around Los Angeles and New York City, And to get working in the movie business, you have to leave your life in Raleigh, North Carolina, sell off all of your belongings, and move into some small apartment in Los Angeles and share it with a couple of different screenwriters who are all trying to sell their scripts. There's all of a sudden a huge need for production companies to try to connect with screenwriters and people selling scripts through other ways. Ron Howard has created this app called Impact, where screenwriters can connect with movie studios and directors who are looking for certain kinds of scripts from certain kinds of filmmakers. So this has never been done before, and it would not have happened, or at least happened as urgently, if you didn't have a global pandemic that was sort of shaking the movie business to its core and forcing change. Things are never going to be the same. And you even have this new iPhone product. The latest iPhone is being marketed directly to filmmakers as an all-in-one tool for making movies. Its camera is powerful enough to replicate some of the effects of, cameras that in Hollywood cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase. But you can do these things now as an independent filmmaker and make pretty good products on the go and not living in these major metros.
The future of the movie industry seems open, but different than usual. Although many movies are still in production, their distribution will be different.
I would like to see movie theaters survive. I'm very tired of sitting on my couch. I think a lot of people are. Movie theaters are an escape, not from our larger world, but from our immediate worlds. And the means of getting out of home, I think, is really important to a lot of people. So I want to see these streaming giants come up with a way to salvage the theater model and make the prices fair for consumers again. But the streaming giants are going to run into the very same problems that the traditional gatekeepers did as well, which is controlling the cost of doing business, making sure it's profitable. But, call me crazy. I think Jeff Bezos can figure it out.
Disney moved all their blockbusters to Disney+. Warner Media recently announced they will be debuting their films on HBO Max the same day as movie theaters. But that only changes the position of the gatekeepers of the movie industry. For us, consumers, it only gets bigger and better.